My name is Alisa. I'm a communications major here at UCSB, and I studied abroad for the 2009-2010 year at King's College London. So as far as academics at King's College, generally I found my classes to be a bit harder than at UCSB just because King's is a top 50 school internationally, so it was a bit more difficult, and my class sizes were definitely a lot smaller at UCSB, but I had a lot less lecture time, so each course I was only in lecture for an hour or two per week, and there generally weren't as many sections or discussion groups as well. So in London I lived in King's College residence halls, mostly with all first years they're actually a bit older than first years at UCSB, so they're around like 19, 20 years old. And for me that was a great way to make friends. People were generally very friendly. In classes as well I was able to make friends, although it is a bit harder, but it's definitely not impossible to do so. So in the dorms, I did not have a meal plan. I lived in a dorm where we shared a kitchen between, it was about 10 students, and so I was responsible for, going to the grocery store and making my own food for the most part. So as far as getting around, I mainly used London's Underground, the tube line. I could walk to class, but it took about 45 minutes every morning, and so I generally just took public transportation. Bus system's also really great, and they have student discounts on weekly and monthly passes that made it pretty easy and relatively cheap to get around London. So some tips that I would offer for studying abroad is, first of all, to pack light. I know when I went to London for a whole year, I brought 2 huge suitcases full of clothes, and I ended up really only using about half of those clothes. London's really cold, it does rain a lot, and you will need to buy a raincoat and lots of sweaters and layers and things like that. So I would definitely advise students to pack light and just expect to buy a lot of items while they're abroad. Another tip for traveling is that traveling can be pretty cheap. I was able to go to about 10 different countries, and most of my trips were on weekends, and what I used was mainly budget airlines, which, I mean, flights are really short and they're really cheap as well. 2 that I would recommend are EasyJet as well as Ryanair, and yeah, I mean, I was able to visit a lot of locations, and I definitely suggest as well looking at places beforehand, or looking at places that you want to go to in that city beforehand, especially maybe if you're only going to be there for 2 or 3 days.